The whole concept, though, was based, I guess, on Clarence Thomas' confirmation hearings.
Yeah, and you know, Pat, of course, I was then at the Christian Coalition,
Yes,
and you and I
yes,
worked very closely together on that confirmation. What that showed me, Pat, and of course he was ultimately confirmed,
Yeah.
it showed me that this is not just a temporal or a political or a legislative battle, that there's a spiritual realm. And so what I try to show in the confirmation is, yes, there are negative attack ads, and yes, there are hit pieces in the newspaper, but God is on the throne. That there is a genuine struggle between good and evil,
Yeah.
and that godly men and women can get involved in the political process, and they can advance and build his kingdom.
Jack Abramoff was representing the Marianas Islands, and that's a place where you could sew a Made in the USA label into clothes made by Chinese workers in conditions that were not subject to U.S. safety standards. And your company, Millennium Marketing, put out mailers to Christians in Alabama asking them to lobby to keep those Chinese workers there because, I'm quoting, they are exposed to the teachings of Jesus Christ while working in the Marianas, and that many, quote, are converted to the Christian faith and return to China with Bibles in hand. When you look back at that, do you stand by that?
I didn't do that particular project at Century, but I don't have an issue with it. I don't. I think that you have an opportunity in politics to make your point of view, and to some Americans that would matter. The being able to spread the gospel would matter to them.
A year before that mailing went out, the Interior Department had published a report. It was a year before that said actually what Chinese workers were getting in the Marianas was not religion, but they were getting sweatshop conditions and forced prostitution and forced abortions. Sweatshop conditions and forced prostitution and forced abortions. And prostitution and forced abortions. And prostitution and forced abortions. And that was the U.S. government's official policy on the working conditions for Chinese workers before you sent that out saying, listen, they're becoming Christians.
Well, before Millennium Marketing sent that out
That this is not just a temporal or a political or a legislative battle, that there's a spiritual realm, that there is a genuine struggle between good and evil, and that godly men and women can get involved in the political process, and they can advance and build his kingdom.
Sweatshop conditions and forced prostitution and forced abortions.
That there is a genuine struggle between good and evil, and that godly men and women can get involved in the political process, and they can advance and build his kingdom.
Sweatshop conditions and forced prostitution and forced abortions.
Talking of, quote, a tale of unspeakable evil in Honduras, we find that Inez Murillo is a Honduran woman who survived torture in the hands of Honduran government death squads. Her account was corroborated by one of her interrogators in an extraordinary story published in Sunday's New York Times. It says that he was trained in Texas by the CIA. He says he was part of an Army death squad that was responsible for the torture and slaying of about 120 Honduran and other Latin American citizens, and for the slaying of an American priest. Here are your tax dollars at work. Now that's quotes from the Washington Post.
So you're for torture, right?
I am for enhanced interrogation.
I don't believe it's torture. So you're for torture, right?
I am for enhanced interrogation.
War Crimes Act, violations of the Geneva Conventions are felonies, in some cases punishable by death. When the Supreme Court ruled the Geneva Conventions applied to Al-Qaeda and Taliban detainees, President Bush and his boys were suddenly in big trouble. They've been working these prisoners over pretty good. In an effort to avoid possible prosecution, they're trying to cram this bill through Congress before the end of the week when Congress adjourns. The reason there's such a rush to do this, if the Democrats get control of the House in November, well, this kind of legislation probably wouldn't pass. You want to know the real disgrace, what these people are about to do or in the process of doing? Senator Bill Frist and Congressman Dennis Hastert and the Republican stooges apparently don't see anything wrong with this. I really do wonder sometimes what we're becoming in this country.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
Thank you for calling. Great to have you here. Hello.
Thanks, Rush. Rush, listen, I voted the Republican, and I really didn't want to see Obama get in office. But, you know, Rush, you're one reason to blame for this election, for the Republicans losing. First of all, you kept harping about voting for Hillary. The second big issue was the torture issue. I'm a veteran. We're not supposed to be torturing these people. This is not Nazi Germany, Red China, or North Korea. There's other ways of interrogating people. And you kept harping about it's okay or it's not really torture. And it was just more than waterboarding. Some of these prisoners were killed under torture. And it was crazy for you to keep going on and on like Levine and Hannity and Hewitt. It's like you're all brainwashed. And my last comment is, no matter what Obama does, you will still criticize him because I believe you're brainwashed. You're just, and I hate to say it, but I think you're a brainwashed Nazi. Anyone who can believe in torture, there's got to be something wrong with them.
You know,
and I know Bush wanted to keep us safe and all of that, but we're not supposed to be torturing these people.
Charles, if anybody is admitting that they are brainwashed, it would be you.
No, Rush. I don't think so.
Charles,
and Levine are all brainwashed.
You said at the beginning of your phone call that you didn't want Obama in there, but
That's
you
right.
voted for him because of me.
I didn't vote for him. I voted for McCain. I voted Republican.
Oh, so you're saying I turned people off?
You turned people off with all this vote for Hillary and all this BS.
That was Operation Chaos. That was to keep the chaos. That was in the Democrat primary.
It didn't work, and now all we have with you, Hannity, Levine, and Hewitt, sour grapes. That's all we have. And believe me, I'm more to the right than I am to the left.
Oh, of course you are.
I am.
Of course you are. You wouldn't be calling here with all these sour grapes if you were.
I'm so tired of listening you go on and on with this.
I don't know of anybody who died from torture. I do not ever.
Not supposed to torture people.
I do
remember
not
World War II, the Nazis, the Nuremberg trials? You remember the Nuremberg trials?
Charles.
Cross Barbie?
Charles, let me tell you, Barack Obama.
What's the matter with you? You never even served in the military.
Barack Obama
I served in the Marine Corps and the Army.
Charles, Barack Obama is president of the United States today because of stupid, ignorant people who think like you do. You and your ignorance are the most expensive commodity this country has. You think you know everything. You don't know diddly squat.
So you're for torture.
Like torture.
I don't like torture. Although defining it is going to be a nice trick, but I mean, who's in favor of it?
So you're for torture, right?
I am for enhanced interrogation.
And we have a law against torture. But if everything that is hateful and odious is not covered by some provision of the Constitution.
If someone's in custody, as in Abu Ghraib, and they are brutalized by a law enforcement person, if you listen to the expression cruel and unusual punishment, doesn't that apply?
No.
Cruel and unusual punishment.
And when he's hurting you in order to get information from you, you don't say he's punishing you. What's he punishing you for?
Because he thinks you're a terrorist, and he's gonna beat the you-know-what.
Anyway, that's my view, and it happens to be correct.
Okay, he gave an interview. He's a retired CIA officer, and he said, Abu Zubaydah, is that the guy's name?
Yes.
Is that right? He said that they waterboarded the guy, and he broke within 35 seconds.
Is this a question for me, sir?
Yes.
Well, last week he retracted that, and he said he was misinformed, and actually he was not at the Abu Zubaydah location.
Okay, so he
retracted that, yes, sir. That's one of the things that was mentioned before.
Right.
And now we know it's 83 times, not 35 seconds.
Now, do you believe that any good information was obtained through harsh interrogation techniques? Can you say that there was no good information? The Vice President suggesting that there was good information obtained, and I'd like the committee to get that information. Let's have both sides of the story here. I mean, one of the reasons these techniques have survived for about 500 years is apparently they work. I mean, one of the reasons these techniques have survived for about 500 years is apparently they work.
were Nazi traitors to the country who should have been tried for treason.